Hi and welcome to this tech video from the GM Show Center here in Birkerød. Today we're going to talk about the differences in foil. Foiling on labels is tricky. On this machine we have two versions of foil. We have the conventional hot stamp, so a hot foil, and we have a cold foil system. They're actually right here next to each other, so it's a good chance to talk about the systems. Today I'm going to focus on the cold foil. Now, cold foil is a cheaper alternative to hot foil, as your tools is only a flexo cliché and not a hot engraved cylinder or an engraved plate. So the tool cost is really low, but there are some drawbacks. In terms of quality, cold foil is almost there on plastics, but not on paper. So why is that? It is because when you do cold foil, the process is that you put a glue down in your flexographic station, and then you apply a foil on top of that, and where the glue is, the foil will be copied, so the gold or silver will be copied onto the web. Now if you do that on a paper, the glue will actually sink into the paper and you will get less quality. If you do it on plastic, the glue stays on top and you get a nice quality. So what kind of products are we talking about? Cold foil is very popular on things like shampoo, where you have a see-through or transparent label with silver on. So this is a typical product. It could also be, we made a simulation of a wine or drink beverage product, but remember, most beverages, they are on paper labels. But if you do a product on a PP label or PP material, cold foil is actually really good. So let's go into some of the details. When you do cold foil, remember, in your print station, you are applying a glue. So you are using a cliché to apply a glue. Then you apply a foil, you dry the glue through the foil, and then you remove the foil, and the silver keeps sitting on it, on the substrate. So what you have to think about when doing cold foil, you have to think about what you're doing. If you're doing thin vignettes or thin graphics, thin lines, you need a very fine analox, low amount of glue. And you need a hard cliché plate to get a very nice impression. If you're doing big solids or big surfaces, then you need a heavy analox with more glue on. But that, you need to think about that when you're doing the actual graphics and layout. It's impossible to do a huge solid area and fine graphics. There is always a compromise. So think about your layout before you select your analogs and your cliché plates. There are some limits. So you need to think about fine graphics and heavy solids. That's difficult to achieve in one job. Having said that, there are other parameters you should be aware of. When you print, select the right analogs, but also your print medium. It's not only the print medium, it's actually what happened before. Remember that cold foil was designed for flexo. And a lot of cold foil jobs today are running on digital presses, but when a digital press applies the ink to the web, it leaves something on it. It could be a silicone oil, it could be a wax, or it could be something else. That will reduce your surface energy, or said in other words, it's difficult to get glue to stick to a silicone surface. So what can you do about that? First of all, if you're doing Corona on digital surfaces or media that's printed with a digital press, remember to use a Corona unit. All our finishing lines have space for Corona unit. A Corona unit works like a digital or electrical sandpaper. It will bombard the surface with some energy, making it easier for the print or the glue to stay on the web. How can you see if it's not working? Well, if you're doing your cold foil and actually the cold foil is coming off, but you have some very rough edges on the web or the print, it's a sign that the glue doesn't stick enough. It's getting rubbed off. So remember, flexo, cold foil was designed for flexo. If you're doing cold foil on top of digital, it's possible, but you may need to Corona treat it. You may need to buy a more expensive glue or a more expensive foil. There's a huge difference between cheap glue and cheap foil and expensive glue and expensive foil. it really depends on the artwork. Now we're going to run the line, take some close-ups where you can actually see the line doing the Coldfoil. Here we are in the best case scenario. We are printing on a white PP material with no print on. So we are able to show you really fine details of beautiful Coldfoil. But remember, if you're printing on something that is not flexo printed, the details may not be as beautiful because it's difficult for the glue to stick to the digital print. Now for the final demonstration, we have a label, it's printed digitally, and now we're going to apply a foil and register. So how does this work? Well, first of all, we have a mark reader here that tracks the registration mark on the side of the print. Then we apply the flexographic glue in register with the actual digital print. And then the process is the same as before. We apply the foil, dry it, and remove the foil. And the result is a perfect label with foiling in register with your print.